Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Melanie Cassar, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Jeanette McNeely. We warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Norman Colin Stewart, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Club Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Norman Colin Stewart. Norman Stewart was born in 1895 to William Wallace Stewart and his second wife Elizabeth. His father was a member of a well-known pioneer family of the Manning River district. Norman grew up in a large family of brothers, sisters and half-siblings and attended school in Taree. His father, who had worked as a farmer and contractor in and around Tinanny, died in 1911. Norman went on to work as a mail driver in the district. Norman Stewart was one of 6 sons of William Stewart to serve during the First World War. He enlisted with his brother Jack in February 1916. After a period of training in Australia, the brothers left for active service overseas with reinforcements to the 53rd Battalion the following April. They spent a few days in Egypt before being sent to England, completing their training on the Salisbury Plan. Norman Stewart joined his battalion on the battlefields of the Western Front in September 1916 and shortly afterwards was promoted to Lance Corporal. Stewart spent most of the bitterly cold winter of 1916 and 1917 rotating in and out of the front line with his battalion. In April 1917, he was wounded in the hand while holding the line near Bullecourt and was taken to hospital in England to recover. He returned to his battalion in France in July 1917. After his return, he received a series of promotions which would end with him becoming sergeant in November of that year. In September, the 53rd Battalion took part in the Battle of Polygon Wood. During this operation, his brother Jack, also serving with the 53rd Battalion, was wounded in the chest and neck and evacuated back to England. He would return in February 1918, just as the Germans were launching a large-scale offensive. In order to defend against the German advance, the 53rd Battalion were put into a position near the French town of Villers-Bretonneux in early April. They held the front line, keeping constant vigil for any signs of a German attack, and patrolled no man's land. Snipers were very active on both sides. On the 9th of April 1918, the 53rd Battalion was relieved after 3 very tense days. On that day, however, Sergeant Norman Stewart was shot in the abdomen. He was evacuated from the front line, but he died of his wounds 2 days later at a nearby casualty clearance station. He was buried in the Napovon British Cemetery, where he lies today. He was 23 years old. Norman's brother Jack, who had enlisted with him 2 years before, continued to defend the line with the 53rd Battalion. He was killed in action on the 24th of April 1918, nearly 2 weeks after his brother. Their names are listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst more than 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of Sergeant Norman Stewart is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Norman Colin Stewart, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.